He didn't speak, but that night the loudest thing in the city was his boiling pot. In a forgotten corner of the city, inside an abandoned warehouse, with shattered windows and rusted doors, something unexpected simmers. A warm smell fills the air. Fresh soup. A large pot bubbles on an old stove. Around it, a few hungry children sit on worn-out chairs. And at the center of it all stands a young man. Eli, 26 years old, born mute, but somehow his silence shouts through every dish he prepares. Tonight's soup is made from discarded potatoes, wilted onions, and a handful of herbs he found in a trash bin. He stirs slowly and precisely. There is no exhaustion in his eyes, no anger, only patience. One of the kids looks up and curiously asks, "Hey, why don't you ever talk?" Eli doesn't respond. He simply smiles, meets the child's gaze, and gently hands over the bowl of soup. No words, but the gesture speaks volumes. Warmth, care, safety. The warehouse is dark, the stove barely heats the space, but the soup is warm. Between the silence, the sound of spoons tapping bowls echoes. What's simmering isn't just food. It's dignity, one bowl at a time. That night, no one says much, because Eli's food speaks for him. The next evening, more children arrive. Eli, as always, shows up early. He sets up his pot, cleans bruised carrots and rotten apples he salvaged, adds water, and seasons it carefully. He warms stale bread in a toaster oven and lines everything up with precision. "I came yesterday too," one kid says, proudly, as he takes a seat. Suddenly, another child drops his spoon. The soup spills. The boy looks down in shame and starts to cry. Eli moves quickly. He kneels, pulls a wooden spoon from his pocket, and gently places it in the child's hand. The boy stops crying, and the next day, he brings someone with him. A man in a black coat, gray beanie, kind but surprised eyes. Keanu Reeves. The boy beams. "This guy fights in movies, but he gets lonely too, like you." Keanu follows him in. The warehouse is silent. Soup steams. Children wait quietly. In the middle, Eli stands, carefully plating a bowl of soup. Keanu takes a bite. His eyes well up. He turns to Eli. "You don't speak, but this soup screams. Love, respect, pain. Your whole story's in here, and you didn't say a single word." Eli lowers his head, shyly smiles, and then places a notebook on the counter. On the first page, he writes, "Cooking is the only love language I ever learned as a child." And just like that, a bond forms between two men, wordless but profound. The next day, Keanu returns. The children are already gathered. Eli is stirring the soup, the rhythm of the ladle steady and silent. The kitchen still speaks in silence. But today, something has changed. Eli reaches into his pocket and gently places a small notebook beside Keanu. "I have no voice, but I still have love." Keanu reads the message, then looks at Eli. "Sometimes words get in the way of feelings, but your silence, it goes straight to the heart." Eli smiles softly, then turns to the notebook again. He sketches a simple house with hollow windows. Beneath it, he writes a single trembling word, "Gone." Keanu frowns and asks, "Where's your family?" Eli doesn't respond, but his blank expression says everything. That one drawing screams louder than years of silence. That evening, the air is colder. A frail elderly woman, digging through trash, peeks into the warehouse. Eli hurries to her and offers a bowl of soup. As she eats, her hands shake and tears stream down her face. "How can you give this much love without saying a single word, my boy?" The children watch in quiet awe. Eli doesn't speak. He simply stokes the fire and stirs the pot again. Keanu sits quietly in the corner, watching. His thoughts echo. This kid's been alone for years. No one saw him. No one heard him, because he didn't speak. But now, his meals are louder than a city. Keanu pulls a pen from his bag and writes in the notebook, "You're feeding people, Eli, but you're also melting away the silence we carry inside." That night, the pot doesn't just cook soup. It simmers loneliness. It boils down grief. And in every puff of steam, a wound is soothed, transformed into something warm, something like love. Eli's humble kitchen was no longer a secret. A curious journalist caught wind of rumors. Keanu Reeves was quietly supporting a hidden soup kitchen in the city. That night, he sneaked into the warehouse with his phone camera. The footage showed Eli silently serving soup to children, wrapping a blanket around an elderly woman, and carefully cooking meals from discarded vegetables. The next morning, every headline screamed the same thing: Mute chef feeds a city. Keanu Reeves behind the silence. When Eli arrives at the warehouse, a crowd surrounds him. Some bring donations, others just watch. A few smile warmly, but some snicker behind their phones. A disabled chef, just a PR stunt. Eli freezes. His hands tremble at the stove. For the first time, his silence feels heavy. He turns to the pot, but something inside him falters. Just then, one figure steps through the crowd. Keanu Reeves. Enough. The crowd goes silent. He wasn't quiet because he couldn't speak. We were the ones who didn't listen. Keanu turns to Eli. Eli's eyes well with tears, but he doesn't cry. In the center of the silence, he pulls out his notebook and slowly writes, "I had no voice, so I spoke through soup. Someone finally listened." The sentence is shared millions of times online. The hashtag #SilentChef goes viral worldwide. Supplies flood the warehouse. Volunteer chefs line up to help. People begin setting up similar kitchens in their neighborhoods. But Eli doesn't change. He returns to the stove, as always. He stirs quietly. His revolution was never about shouting. It was about simmering. And that day, the loudest voice in the city never said a word. 1 month later, the once abandoned warehouse has been transformed into a chain of soup kitchens focused on people born out of Eli's silence. Cracked walls have been repaired, the shelves are stocked, the pots gleam, and each volunteer wears a name tag. But Eli has not changed. He is still the first to arrive and the last to leave. He never speaks, yet everyone calls him the man who talks the most without saying a word. There's a grand opening that day. The crowd is buzzing. Cameras flash, journalists whisper, children laugh. Keanu Reeves comes on stage, but doesn't take the microphone. Instead, he calls Eli to the front and asks him to be on stage because he is the chief architect of this. Eli walks slowly. The applause dies down. He takes out his notebook, opens a clean page, and writes a single sentence. It is projected on the screen behind him. "I couldn't speak, but my food always spoke. And one day, someone heard him. And now our voices can reach farther." Some in the crowd are crying. There is a standing ovation. But Eli bows his head. He didn't cook for applause. He cooked so that no child would go hungry. That night, Eli returns to his place by the stove, the very first one. Keanu sits beside him. They share a silent moment. Eli ladles soup into a bowl and hands it to Keanu. He takes one bite and tears up. "This means thank you, doesn't it?" Eli smiles, then opens his notebook one last time. The final line reads, "A shared meal becomes a voice, and sometimes a bowl of soup says more than a lifetime." Eli leaves the kitchen door open. A small child approaches, holding a rusty tin bowl. Eli meets his eyes and silently gestures him in. The screen fades to black as one final sentence appears. Some heroes don't shout, but every scoop tells their story.